quick tip for highlights and shadows. So every picture you need to check, have you got as much information in there as possible and you've not lost any in the highlights or the shadows. Now on Lightroom, the easiest way to do this is to press J on the keyboard. This will bring up both highlights and the shadows. In the blue, that's where the image is so dark that there's no information, so there's no detail in that area. And in the red, that's where it's too bright, and again there's no detail in that area. Now when you're printing, you want to be able to get the biggest dynamic range you can, and where it's red you certainly want to have that back. The darks are not so bad, but certainly you don't want an area where there's no information whatsoever in the highlights. Now the ways to actually bring them back is using the highlight slider. So if you pull the highlight slider back, and it's as simple as that, there is now at least some gradient or some image quality in that area. So what's happened is it's just dragged back and recovered information into that area. Now again, it's exactly the same with the shadows. You can grab the shadow slider up the shadows, and there we go. It's now saying that there's information in that area. It has lightened the whole picture, but this is where your balance comes into effect. And that is really a personal preference on how you like the picture. Now, I personally don't mind some darker areas. Maybe your picture's a bit moody and you want some darker, that's fine. These are just tools to use to tell you that the information has been lost in that area. Now there's another way of doing this. Now up on the histogram on the right hand side, the right hand arrow is for your highlights and the left hand arrow is for your shadows. Now there's another way of adjusting as well, using your histogram. When you hover over your histogram, you will see there's a light shadow that comes over it, and that's where you can actually grab hold of the image. Now if you grab hold of the very end section, that now, if you look at the sliders, moves the blacks. It affects the blacks. Again, if you do it with the very top part, this affects your whites. Coming in one from the end, you'll see that's the shadow slider that actually moves. So that's just a quick way of adjusting using the histogram. Now you'll see on the histogram, and I'll go into this more detail in another video, all of our histograms, because they're a really useful tool. But you can see now that the line doesn't exceed the end of the graph, which means there's no lost detail.